Hello and welcome to my channel, Pacify-parrot. Today I want to show you a theory that I came up with where that was revealed to me after years of watching basketball. I call it the three-quarter theory, and I want to say that I started watching basketball all throughout the 80s, and that's when the theory really came into my thinking. Just revealed to me, just watching game after game after game after game, and throughout the years, from the very beginning, I didn't know what to think of the theory. I just it was just in the back of my head as I watched the game, and then it got to the point where I would say in my head, "Oh yeah, this team's going to win," and ultimately also thinking in my head, saying things like, "Oh yeah, I'm like 100% certain that this team's going to win." Um, but let me go and show you my theory as I know it. And this is the simplest form of the theory. There is so much to the theory, different things to look at. This theory is based only on single game outcomes. It's not based on who's actually going to win the NBA Finals. Um, that itself is a separate theory and pattern that takes place in the regular season. But I just want to show you the theory um, in its simplest form, um, in a very simple NBA Finals matchup. So this is the 2007 NBA Finals against the San Antonio Spurs and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Um, the game, the series actually goes 4 games. Um, and in those 4 games, the San Antonio Spurs win each of those 4 games, sweeping the Cleveland Cavaliers in '07. '07, I believe, was the first year of LeBron James. It was his rookie year. Um, it was a great season. It was a great NBA Finals if you're a San Antonio Spurs fan. Um, it was probably heartbreaking and a shock to the Cleveland Cavalier fans, thinking that, yeah, LeBron James is going to deliver a title, but it didn't happen. So why did it not happen? Let me show you the theory. Here's game one. San Antonio actually wins the game by 9 points. It's reflected in the box score. You'll see the first 3 quarters of the game there. We'll go to game two real quick, and I just want to show you the scoring for the first 3 quarters of each game, and there's that scoring. We'll move on to the game three, and again you'll see the box scoring for game three right there, and we'll move on to game four, and that's the box scoring for game four. So my theory is just based on the first 3 quarters of each game, and we'll go through the theory right here. Game one, Spurs win by 9 points. Well, the outcome of the game was already predetermined by the first 3 quarters of the game. How is that? Well, that's where my three-quarter theory takes place. And the theory simply is this: is that whichever team wins or outscores their opponent 2 out of the 3 quarters is ultimately going to win the game. And we'll see the pattern here. San Antonio outscores Cleveland by 5 in the first. They tie the second, and then they outscore them by 10 points in the third. So they actually outscore Cleveland 2 out of 3 quarters. So that means that because they've done that the game is in essence finished. It doesn't matter what happens in the fourth. The San Antonio Spurs are going to win the game. That is game one. If you go on to game two, you'll see the same pattern take place here in game two. San Antonio outscores Cleveland by 9 points in the first. They outscore them by, 14 points in the second, and then ultimately by 3 points in the third. There are other things to the theory which reflects in tied quarters or whether or not you win all three quarters, outscore them in all three quarters, or if you outscore them in the first two or the second in the third quarter. But we're keeping it real simple, whether or not you outscore your opponent 2 out of 3 quarters. And here the Spurs have done the same thing. They've outscored them 2 out of 3, both in the first and the third. So we go on to game 3, and you'll see the pattern, the theory emerge again here. You'll see that San Antonio has lost the first quarter by 2 points, but they go on to win both the second and the third quarter, ultimately reflecting in a win in the end of the game and only winning by 3 points. So, I mean, it's a great game, probably a close game. My theory doesn't care whether you're winning at the end of the first, at the end of halftime, or at the end of the third. It only reflects whether or not you're going to win the game at the end of the fourth. There are overtimes, and that adds to the theory. But I'm keeping it really, we're going to keep it real simple, real basic. 3-quarter theory, what happens in single game outcomes, not a series or who's going to win the NBA Finals. So let's move on to game 4, very close game. Spurs win by 1 single point. Cleveland is now swept. This is the deciding game. And if I remember correctly, I recall this series where a lot of the fans were like, after they went down 1-0, it was like, it's okay, we're going to win. They went down 2-0. It's the same thing from the fans. We're going to win this series. I think they thought they were going to go back and win the next 2 games in Cleveland. However, after game 3, I do remember hearing, I think, a fan or somebody saying, yeah, well, we're going to win 1 game, right? And they didn't even do that, which, it's sad, but it's there's only one person that's going to be an ultimate champion, or one team that's going to win a title. So everybody else is just finishing basically last or second to last. It doesn't matter. But so here, Cleveland is outscoring San Antonio in the first quarter and losing the second and third quarter, reflecting in the score, which means that they're going to lose by 1. They're going to lose, and here they lose by 1 single point. And what's crazy is that I've seen games where, I'm just going to go off a little bit right here, a little sidebar here, where let's just say hypothetically that Cleveland they lost this one in the third quarter by a single point. Let's just say that they scored 20 points in the third quarter, and they had the ball at the end of the third quarter with 5 seconds, and they elected not to even attempt to take a shot. They elected just, we'll run out the clock and we'll play the fourth, and whoever wins, right? I've seen that happen, and in my thinking, if I'm a player or even if I'm a coach, I'm saying to myself, hey, we have 5 seconds left in this third quarter. I don't care. We're going to inbound the ball. We're going to dribble it up as far as we can to the basket, and we're going to shoot it. Whether we shoot it from 3-quarter range, half-court range, or from the 3-quarter arc, or even from the free throw and layup or whatever, we are going to get a shot up because we need one more single basket to win this quarter that will ultimately lead to us winning the game. But that doesn't always happen. I mean, I've seen it where a team is going to lose the third quarter, the deciding quarter sometimes, because they split the first 2 quarters and they just get the ball and there's like a half a second or even 1 second left, and they just let the time run out rather than just tossing that ball toward the basket. But that's just the excitement of the game that I've seen throughout the years, and I don't expect other people to see that because they're not aware of the importance of winning 2 out of 3 quarters. But I've seen it where a team does do that, and they do make the basket, and they win that quarter, and they go on to win the game. And it's just like amazing. It's like so frustrating too when you're on the losing side of it. But that's the theory. That's the theory in which I saw revealed to me Like I said, I started watching basketball back in the 80s. I grew up as a Boston Celtics fan. It was very enjoyable to watch games throughout the years, knowing this theory. Um, it angers you and gives you delight in knowing that your team's going to win. Um, but there are there are so many other things that add to this theory that can determine an outcome. But I'm going to do a video, some other videos on the other additions to the theories, and even a theory as to what the regular season determines as far as who's going to win the NBA Finals. But thanks for watching. I appreciate the time, and enjoy the rest of your day.